This is the KMT Line Model Railroad. It is May 1st, 2021, and this is update number 19. Before we get started, I really want to take a moment to thank everybody that has been asking when my next update is coming out. It's kind of a surprise. I appreciate it very much. Thank you very much. And here it is, and I hope it was worth the wait. Thanks again. Let's get started. Okay, well, I thought I'd start this update out here at Jody Junction. This is the forgotten layout. It's out here in the garage, and it's one of those areas where I can only get to certain times of the year. Either it's too darn cold or too darn hot. Right now, the 1st of May, it seems to be okay. So I was out here doing a little bit of work, and as you can see, if you've seen the last update for Jody Junction, over here on the left-hand side, I've added some mock-up tunnel portals, and that marks the east end of both the narrow gauge and standard gauge part of the layout. And then the white foam across the back is there to pretty much just show where I'm going to have a mountain. Just give me a mountain up behind there, and that just marks the deepest part of the layout. And then down at the end, where you can see the orange and red box, there's another set of tunnel portals down there. And you can't see them here very well, but that marks the pretty much the east end of the layout. When I started this layout, started planning it and playing around with it, I decided that I was going to do this kind of in, well, first I called them 3 sections, but they're actually 3 dioramas. And so let me shift this camera just a little bit to show you what I mean. Okay, so over here in this area, the standard gauge layout, from the tunnel portal at the east end all the way around to the tunnel portal over here on the west end, that is my diorama or section or diorama number 1. And it is the standard gauge, and it will have, inside this part of the layout, we'll have over on the far right side, there's a passenger station. If you remember from the past videos, Jody Junction, the town of Jody Junction itself, is off to the right hand side. It's not on the layout, it's just off the layout. But there is a passenger station right there. And everything on the dark cork is the standard gauge layout, what I'm calling diorama number 1, or Jody Junction. As you can see, I have things marked out here where all the blue tape is. I have an engine shed, some water tank, coaling station, sand station, and then there are a couple of industries. I call them industries. A freight dock. Pardon me, a freight dock closest here. There'll be a switch tower, and then down farther beyond the 2 switches is will be a lumber mill. And then down beyond that, where you can see the little tan little box, that's a little shed for a small switcher engine or something else. I'm not sure what yet. I just have it mocked up as a shed. So that's diorama number 1. Diorama number 2, or what I had called section 2, is all of the tan cork. Now that is a narrow gauge, what may be kind of a switch yard or interchange yard, or I'm not sure what yet. You can see I have a bunch of lines drawn out, and I did have something of a track plan in my mind, but I think I'm going to change it. And but that will be a narrow gauge switch area, and like diorama number 1, if I finished diorama number 1 and that's all I got completed, I'd be really happy. No complaints at all. If I finished number 2 and got it all done and scenic and buildings put in and stuff, and that's all I did, I'd be happy with that also. Not a big deal. So now, diorama number 3 is this upper area up here, that area there, and that is going to be a logging camp. And it is served by the narrow gauge, as you can see, and there will be lots of trees, lots of stumps, some buildings, basically a nice logging camp, turn of the century style logging camp. And so that's diorama number 3. If I finished it, great. It would be fun to build stuff for it, fun to do stuff, and that's it. So that's Jody Junction, my 3 dioramas or 3 sections. Complete one of them and I'll be happy. Complete them all 3 of them. I don't expect that to happen anytime soon. But there it is. So let me set things up for looking inside, and we'll go inside and look at Watermen Junction. Okay, so this is Watermen Junction, and as you can see, I've made one step forward. In my last video, I showed you a computer rendering of what I wanted the layout to look like, and this is would be the northeast corner of the layout or diorama, and it is the KMT Line maintenance storage area, maintenance supply area, something like that. And the one thing I did change from the last display is that in that last display, this fence was over here, inside here. And after I started looking at it, especially after I started laying down the ballast in the ground, it wasn't going to look right. Pardon me, with this flat car stored in here most of the time, because it's just a maintenance flat car used for moving the supplies from the supply area over to the actual work section, that it needed to be inside the fence. So I moved the fence out, and it is a wooden fence, all wooden plank. I think what I used was some of the HO scale. I think they are 6-inch, 8-inch, and 10-inch wide planks throughout this. And then I also used some, I think it would be 6x6 pieces to do the uprights. And then I think it's something like a 3x6 rails to go along the top. And it's basically the same as this. I then added, weathering, colored it, and then I put a few signs on it. This one's got Uncle Sam wants you in the Army. This one is baseball, America's game. And then this sign here, it's kind of a funny one. This is a no cursing and no profanity sign. And the reason I did that is because I have a tendency when I get upset. I don't get upset that often, but when I get upset, I tend to use the wrong language. And especially if I'm around my kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids, I got to watch that. And so this is kind of a reminder to keep reminding me every time I see this. I say, "Hey, Larry, no cursing." So it's kind of a joke to myself. And then the gate does operate, but I'll probably put it in this open position, or leave it in this open position. I do know that when I continue work on the scenery this direction, I need to put a post in here, a stop post, to stop it from opening all the way and getting in the way of this track and any traffic on this track. But so that's it. Again, basic wood weathering. I used some Tamiya paints in thinned down with alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, and then I also used some weathering chalks, also using them with alcohol. Dip the brush in alcohol and then dip it into the the stuff, and then just slightly brush it on, move it around, and then I can move it works really well with the chalks, adds a little bit of texture and a little bit more color to it. So and then back here, it's kind of hard to see, it's kind of darkish, but those are 4 wheel sets. They're not glued in place, but there's track underneath it, track right there, so that'll store the 4 wheel sets, up to 4. And I got to put bumper stops on each end. But again, since this is a maintenance area, it's good to have some of those supplies and a spot to stick them. I think that's it for Watermen Junction. It's going to move along. It's going to move along, but it's going to go slowly. I think the next step will probably be the dock platform that goes here, and the dock thing that goes here that'll be covered. I think those will be the next things I do, and then I'll work on the building, and we'll see how it turns out. Okay, so next, what I want to do is I want to move on to the workbench and have a quick little talk about something there. Okay, so let me move the lighting and we'll move over to the workbench. Okay, here we are on the workbench. And what I want to talk about here is a real quick thing is on Watermen Junction, on the east end of Watermen Junction, the main line that comes in, it is blocked. It goes through the tunnel and then it stops. And what I wanted to do was put some kind of a signal that showed that the other side of that tunnel was occupied, so you can't go down that direction. And then that way the operation will make sense. You can't go down that tunnel. You have to stop before there and do all your switching and car movements. So that would make sense. So I started looking for train order signals and found a lot of them, a lot of really neat ones, really nice ones. And I wanted something that was more old-fashioned, not all lights and everything else, more of the swing arm kind of thing. And so I ultimately found this, and it is non-operational, which works perfect for me, and it was fairly cheap, $5. So I guess in the end of it, I really can't bitch about spending $5 and being disappointed, but I am disappointed. The first thing, I understand that there are some good uses for paper products in model railroading. Some of the buildings, doing a paper building, some of the brick stuff looks really good. I know that a lot of the guys across the pond use a lot of paper, and I like it. I've built a little brick house or brick building with the paper brick, and it works really nice. It looks good if you do it right. But for this, I was really expecting some piece of plastic. These arms, but they're not. It's paper. They tell you to glue it onto here, onto this little cardboard. Glue it on there, cut it out, and paint the back part of it black, and then glue it to that. That's the pole. Now that goes into the ground, and there's nothing else that comes with it. This is supposed to be the lantern, and I've looked at it on a magnifying glass, and it doesn't look much like a lantern. But you wouldn't see it anyway because of the way the arms are, so it doesn't matter. This little piece is apparently you cut this up to make supports for the ladder to glue onto here, to the pole, main pole. This rod, this piece of aluminum or wire, is the actuating rod that comes down and sticks into the ground. And this is the ladder. Now, if you look at that ladder, you're going to say, that's not HO scale. These are HO scale. The packaging says HO scale. That is not HO scale. And in fact, when I read the instructions, they tell you that if you want it to look more HO scale, you have to cut out every other rung. Now let me show you that. That's just not right. I'm sorry, it's just not right. I don't know what got into these people. I assume these people are pretty good. I've seen that they have a lot of other stuff for model railroading, but this, I don't know what they did or what they were thinking. Anyway, I got back online and I found that one of the manufacturers that makes the automated arms, the moving arms that work really nice, have the little actuator arms and mechanisms and everything else, they make the spare parts of these. And supposedly they're made out of plastic or something. They're not paper. And so I'm going to try giving that an order and see what I get. But right now, I'm just disappointed in this. I'm kind of disappointed in JL innovative design, but you know, we run into those in this hobby, I guess, and it's kind of a learning thing. And I'm glad it was only $5. But again, since I found the other ones, I'll give them a try, and we'll move on with that. Okay, so that's enough on the bench. I'll be right back. Okay, so that's really all I have. I want to thank everyone for watching. Thanks again to those that were waiting for me and asking. I hope this was worth the wait. Please take care, everyone, and I will see you next time, and hopefully it won't be 2 months. Okay, bye.